Welcome to the A2C podcast. We're your unfiltered ticket to the world behind high achievers of every kind. No ads here, it's just pure value. So do me a favor and share this if you find some inspiration, motivation, or something else in between. Authentic, no constraints, no limits. Let's go. All right. So, how's the park?
The park?
Yeah.
Behind me?
Yeah.
It's my backyard, man. That's my backyard. It's where I live.
Oh, damn.
It is. Yeah.
It's a nice little spot.
Yeah. It is pretty cool. I live in Norfolk, Virginia. We live on the water, have a dock back here. We got grand plans. You know, if we ever run this thing back, a couple years from now, there'll probably be a pool out there but you want to talk about a pain in the ass is trying to find a contractor to come out and give you a pool quote and then work with a city. And where we live, we have this little piece of water called the Chesapeake Bay that's about a couple miles from here.
Yeah.
And there's a preservation act that small little piece of that little act prevents us from doing anything on our property, which, can't put a pool without somebody coming to rubber stamp it or, come out here and tell us, you got to move it here, you got to move it there. It's a crock, but we got to play within the rules, right? It's part of the luxury of living on the water is you got to protect it. And we very much believe in that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, man, it's not a park, man. I get to wake up to this every day, and it's, my wife and I enjoy it. Our two dogs enjoy it. So it's crazy how blessed we are with that.
I love that, dude. Oh, and it's beautiful, by the way. So Mike Milligan, am I saying it right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're going to have to forgive me. Have you seem so damn familiar, but when I saw you on my calendar, I was like, now, Chuck, my assistant, who the hell is this? And he's like, oh yeah, I talked to him. I vetted his stuff. He's worth coming on. So tell me a little bit about Mike Milligan and forgive my ignorance because, sometimes I'm just ignorant as all hell.
Yeah, man, we're in different parts of the world, right? Or different parts of the country. You're out doing your thing. I'm up on the East Coast. Everybody asks me what I do for a living or, what I'm all about. I mean, I've been a certified financial planner for 21 years now, but financial planning is just a small piece of what I do, right? I built a business that is kind of beyond me, but it's really about branding in my world. I mean, it's same for you, right? It's all about branding. I'm sure we've run at each other at a conference. I mean, I've spoken at conferences all around the place, right? In Arizona and California, Florida, Texas, for major insurance companies, major financial planning pieces. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've run into each other, or if you hung out at a bar, I don't know, man, we've been somewhere at the same place, living somewhat parallel lives. So it's actually good to kind of be face to face. But man, I'm an entrepreneur more than anything else. Most people, they'll say they're an insurance agent, or they'll say they're a retirement income this, or a property and casualty this, or a Medicare specialist or whatever, right? I'm an entrepreneur. Like I own a business called Ideas by Mike, very much branded to who I am. Most people don't even know my last name. I had a client experience recently, and she was asking about a name that was on a statement, and she said, "Who is this?" And we said, "That's me," because my real name is Stephen Milligan. Right? It's not even Mike. I just go by Mike. It's that simple, right? I'm about as common of a person as there is out there, with some little twists and turns about me from time to time. I'm a professional failure. I believe in failure. I believe in, trying to do it as much as possible. I've had personal failure. I'm divorced. I don't hide behind that. I love my ex-wife. I love my current wife. I love our kids that we somehow harmoniously raised together. But, we all make mistakes. And in these mistakes, right, you just got to love the people through the mistakes. And so, I mean, I've failed so much more than I've ever succeeded in my life. That's a little bit of who I am, right?
Hey, that's pretty badass. And we had to have hung out because I've been at all those conferences. I've spoken on a lot of those stages, and I've hung out at the damn bars, Mike. I've hung out at the bars. So we had to have been around. And it's funny. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day. Every now and then you're like, oh man, it's a small world in this business. And it really is. Tens and hundreds of thousands of people, but it's still a small world in the business. But for a smaller world as it is, it's still a big, big, wide world. I talked to a dude yesterday who apparently owns one of the biggest financial services coaching companies that's ever existed, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. You know the pitch. What's that?
And the scope about it is, right, he owns the biggest that's out there, but he owns like a piece of salt when it comes like in this world. Like his impact is like a salt, a grain of salt.
But like, I don't want to take anything from you. You got to give credit where credit's due. And I hope to God people give me some credit because I'm busting my freaking ass. But yeah, I was like, yeah, dude, I've never heard of you. And he was kind of offended, actually. I was like, I'm sorry. I haven't heard of you. It is what it is. For as small as the world as this, the finance space is, and every career is like that, I found. It's a small little world, but it's still a big wide world. And he and I were talking, and I kind of got the vibe. We were talking about maybe collaborating on something, and I got the vibe that he just wasn't down for it. What we do is too similar and and I'm like, well, it's similar, but also very, very different. I think we get further by collaborating because, like you said, I'm trying to create as much impact as possible, but the reality, the impact I'm having, it's a grain of sand on the beach. Right?
Correct.
And there's just so much of it. We can go so much further. So it's interesting. We had to have hung out at some point together. So
you talked about like somebody not wanting to collaborate. This is one of my biggest pet peeves, really, in any business, right? I mean, this drives me crazy, right? Together, we can do more together than we could ever do apart. And if we could do more, we obviously can make more money if we find a way to do it on a grander scale. But do you know how many people, I read something this morning that it just blew me away, right? That somebody big did a study about how many people actually work with like financial advisors or financial professionals. It's like 16%, one of those big firms. So that means there's 84% of people out there who need help, who don't have somebody, and yet we can't work together to go get that 84%. That to me is like little dick syndrome, to be honest with you. Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry to be so explicit, right? But, we're not here to compare size of anything, right? We're here to help people.
No, Mike, we're here to compare. We're here to compare.
Oh, we are?
Right now. No.
Right now. You first. You drop first. Your audience wants to see first. They want to see Carson, right? We just went X-rated right away, right?
Yeah, that's how this podcast is. But we run in schmeckles in the Portal household. It is what it is. But no, dude, I get it, man. It's super frustrating. I come from auto repair. I remember running my first auto repair shop, and it was so crazy. We were in this small town of I don't know, 30, 50,000 people. Yep. And every auto shop was talking shit on every other auto shop. And then, once a year, once every other year, you'd trade mechanics around because so-and-so got pissed off. You didn't give them a long enough lunch, and you take too many smoke breaks and whatever. Now they're working over there, and now the shop they were talking shit on, now that they're paying their paycheck, they don't talk shit anymore. They talk shit over here. And it was interesting because similar numbers. You look at how much the private market has in that sector compared to the dealerships and the big corporations and then you look at the level of quality and work. Frankly, it's significantly better in the private sector. Significantly better. But because and I always brought it down to, this was me early 20s running these businesses. And it was like, we have to fucking stop this. It destroys consumer confidence, and it chases them off to Walmart for their oil changes and the dealership for anything else.
That's right.
We're fighting over scraps at this point because we've destroyed consumer confidence.
Yeah. You're talking about the auto industry, but like in the financial space, right? Where all my stuff, right? I always tell people like, we're all making hamburgers, right? We're all making the same hamburgers. Some are just using 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese. Some are doing it like Five Guys. Some are doing it like In-N-Out. Well, in our industry, no. Our goal, or the goal of most people, is to say, that's bad, and I'm the only one that knows what to do for you. That's what they do, right? Manage money is the only way. Annuities are the only way. Life insurance is the only way, right? Keeping money in your bank is the only way, right? I always tell people, like, whoever you're getting advice from, ask them how much they're getting compensated and what they can sell. Because if they tell you they can't do something, or they tell you it's not good for you, that's probably because they can't do it and they don't understand it. It drives me crazy because, there's room for us all, right? There's room for us to all come to the table to help as many people as possible. And it just freaking drives me crazy. Are you a baseball guy? Do you follow baseball at all?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. A lot more when I wasn't so busy with work and life, but I love baseball.
Yeah, you ask the best hitters in baseball, like who their competition is, and they're going to say it's the baseball, right? They're not going to say it's the guy throwing the baseball, right? They're going to say it's the baseball. It's like what I can do with the baseball when I hit. The greatest will say that. The ones that are, a little more weak-minded or who don't make it, they'll say, hey, my competition's the pitcher. I got to figure out everything he does, right? I got to, I'm going to get mad at him and I'm going to do, no. Your competition is the baseball, right? It just so happens there's two competing forces out there going against each other, but it's who manages the baseball better is who really wins the game.
Dude,
right?
I love that.
And
I love that because it's you. Yeah, and you will. I grew up playing baseball. I played year-round travel ball, and I loved it. And it's so funny because you will have and metaphor of all metaphors. This is business for any sector. It's life for any sector. You don't even have to be in business for yourself. You could be a school teacher. Same thing. It's so funny because, when you're on the other team, you're looking at that pitcher and there's so many folks, 90+% of the team wants to focus on, well, he throws a sidearm. Well, who gives a fuck? He's still striking your ass out. It's what the ball did, The ones getting on base, the ones hitting the ball, the ones having success, they're focused on the ball, not the fact that it's coming out of this kid's hands, sidearm or whatever. Man, good metaphor. I like that a lot.
I mean, you look at the guys making 30, 40, $50 million a year playing professional baseball right now. You don't hear them talking shit about the other guys making that money. They're all trying to figure out how to get themselves better, right? The best physical shape they can be in. And they're all figuring out how either to throw the baseball better or hit the baseball better. That's what they're trying to figure out. They're not trying to figure out anything else. They're not playing around on social media doing crazy stuff, right? Talking shit to the competition. They're not doing that. I mean, they'll throw shade every once in a while, right? They'll throw shade, but they're really doing that for like advertising purposes to build up a rivalry, to get people to buy more tickets, to get people to buy their jersey. It's a business move at that point, right? They're not doing it because they dislike the guy or have any ill impact toward that person. So listen, man, I'm a genuinely positive guy in my business, but like, hey, I do come off as kind of a nasty SOB sometime when people start talking about competition in our business, because the reality is there's no competition. We're here to make an impact, right? With the person we're talking to in that moment. We're going to give them every piece of information we can that in our mind will help them. And then I'm free and clear from what decision they make, right? Yeah. If they choose to take my advice, great. If they choose to work with me, great. But, that's what happens when you get to certain success levels, when you get to a certain point in your career. I'm not dependent on somebody saying yes to me. My house payment is not dependent on that. I don't have a car payment. Whether or not my wife and I go to Paris next April is not dependent. It's already booked. It's not dependent on if they say yes or not. We're just here every day doing what we can to make an impact on the people that work in my company, the clients that we deal with, and the communities that we live in. And the biggest impact we want to make is on this freaking industry. Here's two white guys right here talking, right? Doing a podcast together.
I don't see color. I don't know where that comes from.
No, right. No. That's
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Right. There's two white guys, but you go to conferences, right? How much diversity do we have in this industry? Right?
Not enough.
How many women do we have leading the charge in this industry?
Not enough. I think this industry would be infinitely better off if it was led with more empathy, and nobody finds a more clear path to empathy than a woman. Not all women do. I've met some real bitches in my time, but
you said
by and large, right? No, by and large, women do find it easier to connect with empathy, and there's not a moral way to do this business without it.
Correct. That's exactly right. I mean, like 20 years ago, I'm starting to look at like what my legacy is going to be in this business. Not like how much money I'm going to have, what my legacy in this business is going to be. And this came directly from my wife. We were at a national sales conference where they were giving awards out to the top people, and there were like 60 people in the room getting awards. She just reached over up under the table and grabbed my leg and said, "We're going to talk later." My wife is half Puerto Rican, and if you know anything about Puerto Ricans, when they say that, I'm going to listen. That night, we got back to our room at a resort. We were in Cabo San Lucas. We got back to our room. She said, "You're going to find a way to get more women in this business." And I said, "Babe, what do you mean?" She said, everybody that got an award tonight was a male, and there was only one of them that was a minority. She said, where are the women? Where are the women in this business? And my wife's a successful realtor. She's a top 5% national realtor. Like, she's really good at her job. But in the real estate world, women crush it. I don't know if you know that, but they just crush it on that side. There's a lot of them. They do a lot of volume. They do a lot of business. But in this spot where we are, like retirement income, investment management, the women that are here do well. There's just not enough of them. And there's definitely not enough minorities, right, doing this. And I mean, that's the impact I want to make. I want to get more people doing this at an ethical, in an ethical way, right? In an ethical way. But I want clients to be able to identify with the person they see on the screen or the person they're meeting with face to face. Women are going to control the wealth in this country. And I mean, they already kind of control it, but they're going to control it even more. They're going to have more of it the further along we get in years. That's the impact I want to make before this thing's all said and done.
I like it. I tend to agree. And I don't know, I feel like I've got some answers on why there's not more women in insurance and finance.
Why? Why? Tell me why there's not.
It's fucking boring and it's not sexy. When was the last time you woke up at 3 a.m. with a boner because you were thinking about insurance or finance? It's not sexy, but real estate, that's the freaking American dream.
Yeah.
It's a little bit sexier. And like, I make a little light of it, and I'm definitely crude, but be that as it may, that's really a reality. This is not perceived. I don't know very many people. At this point, my network in our combined industries here, tens of thousands, and I might know a handful that can honestly say, without any bullshit, when I was a kid, I wanted to grow up to be in this business. And usually it's because their daddy did it or whatever, and they saw how successful they were. But it's not many. I didn't want to do it. There was a day I remember waking up, Mike, and I was like, my God, I'm an insurance agent. Oh, I wanted to throw up a little bit. I had sexier ideals for my life as an adolescent and a teen and coming up, even a young adult. Now that I'm in it, and yeah, of course I get hyped about it. Of course I care. But this industry hasn't made it's not an attractive industry by and large. Why would more people want to choose it? Number one, men tend to be more money-minded. So women connect to empathy better. Men connect to dollar bills better. That doesn't mean we make them better. It just tends to be on our mind more. That's not always the case, and it's not, so the haters can just shut the hell up. But, we're men. Yeah.
So what do you find sexy? What do you find sexy about the business now? I mean, like you're in it now, right? I mean, you're all the way into the business, right?
Yeah.
In the insurance spirits. What do you find sexy about it?
A lot of times, nothing still. I'm still like, oh my God. Hey. But no, I'm teasing. There's a lot that I do find sexy about it. And what I find sexy about it now is it's not the products we sell or the way we do it. And every financial advisor, planner, insurance agent I've ever met, once they get in the business, they start getting their rocks off on their colloquialism and how well they know this and that and whatever. That's what they get their rocks off on. But the real sexy thing is 5-10 years later, seeing that gal pushing a shopping cart into Walmart or into Target to go shopping because she can fucking afford to in retirement.
Yep. She's
not gathering shopping carts up around the parking lot because she couldn't afford retirement.
Yep.
And that's what's made it sexy for me. And beyond that, she gets to be the good grandma, not the asshole grandma that's buying spinach macaroni because that's all she can afford.
Right.
She's buying the good stuff. And like, just here's what's sexy about it, Mike. For every one person you get to help, truly from a best interest, ethically, empathetically help, for every one person you do that with, it impacts 100, 500 people inside of your own community you live in. My kids get to grow up in a better place because I showed up today and chose not to be an asshole and help somebody the right way. That's what's sexy to me.
See, that's the bigger picture stuff, right? That's where we get, typically financial guys get so into the numbers, their spreadsheets and their programs and all that stuff. They can't articulate what makes this thing, what really makes this business attractive. And it's really like seeing the impact, being able to tell the story of, not, walking in shopping versus doing the shopping cart, right? Like, I got clients who do, 30-day cruises because, we created a better plan for them, right? I had a client who was telling me a story about when her 3 kids went to kindergarten, her parents always showed up for the first day of kindergarten for her kids. And I said, isn't your first grandchild getting ready to go to kindergarten? She goes, yeah, but they're in Colorado. I was like, why don't you go? Why aren't you showing up? Why aren't you doing what your parents did? Why aren't you showing up? She goes, yeah, I should do that, right? And she has the money to do it, right? It's just, she didn't think of it. And then I asked her to send me pictures, right? Send me a picture of you with that grandchild. And then I said, hey, go back through the pictures and find your daughter with, her grandparents. Send it to me. We created one of those bifold things, picture frame, where we put the picture side by side and send it to her and send one to her daughter. And they were crying when they called us and told us they had it, right? I mean, yeah, we manage money. Yeah, we help with the retirement, right? But that shit is fun, right? When you get to see a grandma with a grandkid at the first day of kindergarten because her kid and her mom did the same thing and you put it together, and I mean, it's so fun, right? This is about, money is a big thing, right? But it's really about what you can do with money and you can help people do with money. And that's what most big firms out there, I don't want to say names, but Merrill Lynch and, Raymond James and, Edward Jones.
I don't want to say names, but let me name off some few.
Yeah. Fisher Investments, those guys, right? Those advisors are doing the company line, right? They're all doing the company line. And yeah, they'll scratch the surface, right? And it's almost like they're having these one-night stands over and over again because they're, trying to get clients in the door over time. So they're having a one-night stand, bring me your money, right? And then they go have it with somebody else, and they go have it with somebody else. And it's get as big and as bad as you possibly can get, right? But when you really deeply get to know somebody and they trust you, and you can find out what makes them excited, like going to see your grandkid's first day of kindergarten, going on cruises, volunteering at a garden club or something, and you send them a water pot with your company logo on it and they take it out and you get referrals from that. That stuff's exciting, right? And that's where a lot of people miss in this business. You can make it anything you want it to be. Would you disagree with that?
I wouldn't disagree at all. And you can make it, that goes so many directions. Yeah. You make it anything you want it to be.
You can do whatever you want to in this business. You can work 10 hours a week, right? You can work 100 hours a week. You could have 50 employees. You could have no employees. You could make 200,000 with no employees or make 500,000 with 50 employees, right? You can do whatever you want to. So the American dream is to own a home, right? Well, people that are watching this are thinking,
quotes.
Own a home, right? Yeah, be in debt, all that good stuff. American dreams to own a home, you can have a dream by owning a business, and you can do that with anything, right? You can own car washes, own car dealerships, right? You can do anything, right? You can own a maid service, you can cut grass, you can own a business doing anything. The key of it is just to make it fun and connect with people, right?
Dude,
get to know.
Yeah. I love that, man. I really do. And I love this business. It's become a sexy business, on topic. And I want to change topic here in a minute because I told you this wasn't a business podcast.
No, it's not a business thing.
I'm going to ask you all your anything that is going to violate, some HIPAA laws. That's what we're going to get into.
Cool.
No, but I was actually having a conversation with a really good friend of mine who's a realtor in Southern Utah. And he was like, hey, I've got this gal I'm trying to bring on my team and I want to spitball some ideas because she's giving me some backlash here. I want her on my team. She's not sure about real estate and whatever. And I pissed him off because we jumped on a 3-way Zoom call, right? She's like, well, why would I want to get into real estate? He's trying to hire her to pound phones, Boomtown, the Boomtown model, pound phones, pound leads, and do deals. And, I was like, I honestly don't know. I can't stand real estate myself. I'm not saying it's a bad investment or something bad to spend money on. Just, it's not, y'all talking people into buying a home they shouldn't be buying is the reason why daddy can't go to his little boy's game. I'm the reason 6 months later why he finally gets to start going to the games. She's joining the financial sector. We'll see if she goes insurance or financial planning or something in between or there's so many ways, but we have a sexy business, but it's not at face value. It's not at face value. And too many people get wrapped up in that face value. What the wealthy don't want you to know.
Right. Yeah. You know who takes the sexiness out of this business, if I can complain a little bit?
Yeah, do it.
compliance people, underwriters. They take the sexiness out of this business until you get to know them a little bit. And then when you get to know them, they become your best friends.
What I've found is this. So every time, and you've probably gotten this, I don't even do the securities-based stuff anymore. I've thought about picking my 65 back up again, but I dropped all my stuff and I've gone just insurance and the last several years and just specialized, and it's done really well for me. And I refer a lot out to other qualified advisors. So we've almost built a pseudo family office concept inside of what we do. And it's worked really, really well. But I found this, whether you're an insurance agent, a financial advisor, certified financial planner, something else in between, the number one question I get above all questions is, what's the best thing for me to do? What's the best? And dude, I started this business in 2014, so I'm still a baby compared to you, but I'm coming up on a decade here soon. It was late 2014 when I jumped in, and from 2015 on, I remember telling folks, I have no idea. There is literally no such thing as the best thing that everybody should be doing. It's different
Right.
tools for different jobs, and it's not just mutual funds or life insurance. It's which life insurance policy: whole life, index universal life, variable universal life, term life insurance. They're all great. You'd kind of make an ass out of yourself as somebody in the construction trades showing up with a full toolbox and only swinging your framing hammer at anything that like you'd make a dick of yourself. But somehow in the finance industry, we think that that's the answer, and it's not. It's not. So it's been really cool, to your point, over the years to just see that mentality. I didn't even know if I was right. I just felt like I was.
Right.
But it's come to fruition again and again and again and again and again, because it's all the best. They're just different tools for different jobs. And depending on licensing or whatever, my job is to be an absolute expert at educating and implementing these products, and then finding folks who, from a best interest perspective, fit those specific products. And it's been really cool. So I don't know, man. Not sure where I'm going with that, but take it from there. Take it from there, Mike. Save this podcast.
Business is good, right? And we're here to not talk business, and we talk business for 20 minutes, right?
It's because we're addicts. Here's what I want to know. I've got so many questions, but half of them keep us on the business topic. I want to go a different direction with this.
Yeah.
First of all, why Mike and why not Steven?
So when I was born in the 70s, I was born in 76, right? There was a period of time in the southern part of the U.S. that if you find a guy born between 75 and 76, they're going to go by their middle name. So it's their first initial, their middle name, last name. It was just a trend, right? My mom was a high schooler. My dad was a high schooler. So my grandparents were heavily influential in my life, my pa and my granny. As my mom told me, my pa wanted a Mikey. You're young, man. You probably don't remember this, but do you remember the Life cereal commercial? Mikey, eat it, eat it.
I'm not that young. Come on, give me a little credit. I'm starting to get gray. Got a Bosley subscription.
I love it. I love it. But that's why. So there's three names I have. Well, at least three names I have. I have Steven. That's people who don't know me, right? Don't have a clue. I have Mike. That's what everybody calls me, right? And then I have Mikey. And when somebody calls me Mikey, we know each other. Like we really know. They know where my skeletons are buried. They know my wrongs. They know everything about me. So that's why. Yeah. What's your middle name?
Logan. But no, I've always gone by Carson, asshole, something else in between. Yeah, that's about it. There hasn't been much for me. So that was another one of my questions. I hear a twinge of the South. Are we talking like gumbo every other night South? Are we talking hush puppy South? Are we talking red snapper South? Grouper cheek South? There's a lot of different Souths.
Talking chopped barbecue and cornbread South. So North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean we had hush puppies. And don't get me wrong, there were hush puppies. My grandmother, my dog wants to be on the podcast. I could tell. One of my dogs. I drink tea out of a mason jar still.
Yeah, I was gonna say the South question was coming either way, dude. So
yeah, I drink tea out of a mason jar all the time. I mean, my grandmother who helped raise me, like she made dinner for us like every night, right? So I grew up where macaroni and cheese was a vegetable. You know, it was, you know, you'd have fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and mac and cheese. And, you know, that would
bacon with some of them Ritz crackers on top.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, we have this thing called a broccoli casserole, you know, in the South.
Daddy, say less.
In the South, anything's a casserole. You could put anything with casserole as long as it has mayonnaise, cheese, and Ritz crackers. And I mean anything, right? I have like pineapple. Yeah, mayonnaise, Ritz crackers, and cheese. And you add a fourth ingredient, right? Like broccoli casserole, right? I've had pineapple casserole, pineapple Ritz crackers, mayo, and cheese. Yuck, right? That's weird, right? I mean, we think people are weird who put pineapple on pizza. Imagine putting pineapple in a casserole. That's some North Carolina shit right there.
So I was born and raised in the Phoenix, Arizona area, Gilbert, Chandler, and then Southern Utah, St. George, Utah. And spent a lot of time around a lot of Mormons. I was born and raised Mormon, and before they decided they didn't want me anymore, and good riddance, you know.
Were you excommunicated?
That's a whole nother story we're gonna have to talk about another time. Like 32 counts of felony, odometer, tampering, and dude, it's a story. Got out from underneath them, plebe abeyance, but we'll get into that another time. But everything out there in that kind of Mormon corridor, you might call it, is a salad. Like literally, so I'm in Idaho now. So I'm literally just north of the corridor here. Lots of Mormons here. And by the way, a lot of the best people I know are Mormons. Nothing against them. But they literally up here call it a Mormon salad. And a Mormon salad is like, I'm not sure what it actually is. It's growing up, anything was a salad that could be put next to a salad on your paper plate, right? And so like Jell-O salad is one of those big things. We had a lot of casseroles too, but I mean, you do like Jell-O mixed up with Cool Whip and marshmallows, pecans, and pineapple. And it's a salad. And people are like, nah, I'm going to skip the Caesar, get some salad. I'm trying to be healthy. Right. And I've heard about the fat that's in dressing, so I'm going to stay away from salad dressing. Give me some of this Jell-O salad. That's what we grew up with. But South, dude. So I was in Tennessee, Bristol, Tennessee. We were working on just right there on the Virginia or West Virginia border, right there.
Both. They're all right there together. There's a Bristol, Tennessee, a Bristol, Virginia. There's like the town.
Yeah. You know. So I was in Bristol, Tennessee, and we were working on a group benefits account, basically taking over from Raymond James, 401k plan, setting up some safe harbor and also an employer-owned simple plan, simple IRA plan. And so we're out there, and these folks that own this manufacturing plant, they're like, hey, I know we're in the middle of meetings, but if you can spare 2 hours, and that's when you know you're in the South, when they're like, if you can spare 2 hours in the middle of the day, there's this barbecue joint down the way. We want to go hit it. So we go hit it. And when they say down the way, it was like a damn hour drive. I don't even know where we were. There was skinwalkers about. It was getting crazy. We were in Appalachia. Right. But literally just rolled up. You're in the middle of Appalachia, and then you roll up and there's just this shack and it's a barbecue joint. Let me tell you, the best thing that was there was saltine crack. They called it blue cheese and crackers, right? Have you had blue cheese and crackers?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
It was like liquid form blue cheese and saltine, the cheap, shitty crackers when you're puking.
Yeah.
I still salivate. Oh my gosh, that was good.
Yeah. They've gourmeted that. I was at a place in Nashville where they actually did this blue cheese as whip stuff, and it was just what you're talking about from the Appalachia, and they're charging $27 for a little bit of it, and they're still giving you saltine crackers with it.
This is Nashville. You might see Kid Rock.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time in Nashville because I got part of my business is there. So
I like Nashville. I like Nashville. I like Franklin. Well, actually, the mastermind that I run, the top level of it, we do quarterly meetups, and December 1st we'll be in Nashville. We're gonna go. Maybe we'll take everybody on a whiskey tour and maybe hit a Predators game or something. We'll see.
They do that DJ Khaled song. All you do is win, 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 no matter what. You got to get ready to throw your hands up if you go to a Predators game. So,
it's a good time.
Man, I can talk. We talk business. I can talk food all day. That's my thing.
You don't maintain a body like I've got not liking food. I'll tell you that.
Right. Right. That's 100%.
I'll tell you that. So what took you up to the Northeast?
Well, I'm not really the Northeast. It's still kind of like mid-Atlantic. It's, Virginia, North Carolina, right? But I mean, like, my granny, right? who I told you helped raise me, like on 9/11. I mean, she's my hero, right? I love her, and I don't mean to talk ill of her, but this was not one of her finer moments. But on 9/11, she calls me and says, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Granny, I'm doing good." And she goes, "Can you see the smoke?" And I said, "The smoke from what, Granny? From DC?" She said, "No, from the towers." I mean, you know how far New York City and Norfolk, Virginia are away from each other? I mean,
it's a good clip. Yeah.
It's a good clip. You can't see smoke from there. But I moved to Norfolk with my ex-wife. Like, her family was from here. And, we raised 3 kids together here. So it's nothing great about that story. Just family brought here. I stay here because I actually have none of my kids are here anymore. I got one up in Bethesda, Maryland in medical school. I've got another one playing college soccer in Lynchburg, Virginia. And I got another one that, quite honestly, I don't know where she is right now. She's on a year-round gap, a gap year trip between high school and college. And I think she's
herself.
Yeah. She's a great organization called like World Race that take high school, those kids in between. And I mean, there's like 50 of them. They're like on their way to Cambodia, and they're going to spend like 8 or 9 weeks there. They're going to go to Thailand. They're going to go to South Africa, Guatemala. I hope she comes back and says she doesn't want to go to college. Like, she just wants to get right to work, right? But we'll see.
All right, dude. So I've got a question for you. This is less business related, but business certainly has something to do with it. I can guarantee it because I've been in business and relationships and stuff. So you mentioned a few times now, you've been married and divorced, remarried, right? And it sounds like you've got, for being in that scenario, an optimal scenario where you've been able to maintain a level of respect with your ex and raise children together and do all these things. Where does it go wrong for somebody? Whether you're in business or not, you could be a doctor working for the hospital, but you're trying to do something significant, right?
Right.
Where does that kind of shit go wrong?
You're talking about marriage, right? I mean,
yeah.
This is
marriage, relationships.
Yeah, man. This is like my therapist and I have worked this one out pretty significantly because it's just like a series of compounding choices you make, right? Instead of choosing like when you have your first kid and they get on a T-ball team, right? Instead of choosing to like drive to the game together, you drive separate together, right? And then that becomes a habit, right? Then you have 2 kids, right? And you get one of them in T-ball and one of them in soccer. And so you choose for one of them. One of you takes one to one and one of you takes one to another, right? I love my kids, right? And my kids are not the reason that my marriage didn't work out. They're never the reason for that. My kids are the reason we probably stayed married longer than we would have. So, but then all of a sudden you make all these little choices, these little small things. You go to church in different cars, right? And one person gets involved in one thing and one person gets involved in another thing. Then all of a sudden you find that you only connect each other when you go on vacation like once a year. You don't go to bed at the same time. You don't make sure to give some form of affection every day, whether it's a hug or just a check-in that says, "Hey man, you mean something to me." And, it goes weeks without you saying that because of all these compounded choices that you've made over and over again. And then you realize you don't know each other. And then you realize, you love the idea of being a dad, or you love the idea of being a mom, but you don't love the idea of seeing yourself with that person for the rest of your life because you don't know each other. Then somebody makes a bad mistake, right? Just makes a bad mistake. They go to lunch with the wrong person, right? Compounded things. And then all of a sudden you find yourself not together, right? And I wish nothing but the best for my ex, right? She just sold a home 3 weeks ago that I negotiated it for her. I did all the hard work to help get that thing to closing. Like, we're going to, in 3 or 4 weeks from now, we go up to senior night for my daughter who's graduating with the soccer team, and we'll walk out together, right? And they'll honor her, and they'll say to my daughter, "Hey, Mike and Chris, her parents are here. We're going to be there together for that stuff. We're going to raise grandkids together, right? We're going to raise kids together separately. We're going to make sure we're always on the same page. We don't talk to each other every day. We talk to each other when it's important. When she has something in her life that she needs somebody that she can run something by, she'll reach out." The coolest thing about all this is I told you about my Puerto Rican wife. Liana is so cool with that relationship. I mean, like, she knows that it failed. She knows that I'm not going back. There's no jealousy in that. But she knows that that's my past and she is my future. What Liana gets to benefit from is me knowing what I did wrong and me working on it so that now I can, try to be the best husband that I wish I would have been before. Right. I mean, I think everybody who's been divorced, unless there's been abuse, right? There's all situations, right? Abuse or infidelity or all this stuff that nobody really wants to forgive, right? And be a part of. But I think everybody who's got divorced, there's a part of them that wish they would have done something different and, tried to make that relationship a little bit better. There's a lot of people who stay in those relationships because they don't know what's on the other side. They don't know that there's other happiness or, they don't know what their finances are going to look like. They don't know what their kids are going to think of them, right?
Yeah, it's the devil you know.
Right. It's exactly right.
That's cool, though. But she gets Mikey 2.0.
That's right. That's
straight out the box.
We do some things that I wish I would have done before. Like we have like a midday check-in every day. Like we're both busy, right? But we've developed in our repetition a midday check-in. Like, there's so many people that'll like in the middle of the day just text their spouse, "Hey, I love you," right? Or something, "I miss you," or something like that. We will try to do it where we hear each other's voice midday. She actually spent 4 days in Wyoming out your way. She was there Sunday. She got back late last night and she loved it, right? But even with we have a cell phone plan with a company called T-Mobile, which is not very good out your way. But like she was out there with some friends and like midday, no joke, right? Midday, they're in the middle of Yellowstone Park. She doesn't have her cell phone. She doesn't get through. The friend she was with, Nina, texted me and said, "Hey, Liana wanted me to tell you she loves you." Right? I mean, like, come on, man.
Dude, that's badass. I was just out in Yellowstone. So I live 45 minutes from Yellowstone. We just live off the west end. If she was Yellowstone, Wyoming, she's probably out on the east side. And yeah, T-Mobile sucks out here. But no, dude, that's super cool. It's super admirable. I mean, you've got all the broken heart and the lovebirds that might listen to this at some undetermined point in the future. They're out here sniffling tears and stuff because it's seriously beautiful, man.
It's one of those things, right? If you're in a relationship, it's until it's done, right? It's never too late to make changes. You ever heard that Love Dare Challenge thing that came out in a movie like 4 or 5 years ago? There was like this love day, this 30-day love challenge thing, right? Where you do something every day without telling the person you're doing it, right?
Bam, I'm gonna open that can of pork and beans.
Yeah. You gonna
Watch
get it.
Me, my G-string, nothing but my G-string and my New Balance is on.
Right. But man, you can, and we talk, this is the downright inside of Liana and I's relationship is we talk dirty to each other. Like, oh, my kids don't like it, right?
Like, what's the dirtiest thing you've ever said? No, don't say, no. Well, do you want to? Do you want to say this?
I mean, she texted me this morning. I mean, I got laid this morning, right? The morning of the podcast, right? She was gone.
Is she going to be mad at you for saying this?
No. If she was right there, she would say the same thing, right? So I got laid this morning. And like, I'm sitting in the office at 11. She's on a break. She's at a conference today, like she's getting a realtor designation today. She calls me and she goes, "Hey, babe, I just wanted to call and say thank you for the dick this morning." That's all she said, right? And so like, we'll talk dirty to each other, right? Most people will be like, "Ooh, I'm not." I mean,
I've got to talk to my wife because she has never thanked me for the dick this morning. That's another level, dude.
Should be like at Thanksgiving this year. At Thanksgiving, you should be like, "Honey, is there anything you're thankful for?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, I'm thankful for our kids, and I'm thankful for this turkey, and I'm thankful for all this." Babe, have you ever really just been thankful for the dick? And if not, is it just because I'm not that good? That's what you should ask her, just like that, right? Put it back on her. Anyway, if she watches,
dude, I just might be like, "Listen, it's me or the sweet potatoes. Make your fucking choice."
Right.
I'd pick the sweet potatoes, but
you should be like, next time you have sex with her, right? I hope it happens tonight. Go, do whatever and just be like, "Babe, I just want to thank you. That was awesome." And she'll be like, "What? Well, why would you thank me for?"
Babe, you mean don't just like finish up, roll away and be like, "You clean up the mess. I'm going to bed." No.
Right. No, don't do that, right? just get in there and thank them, right?
That ain't me.
Sex advice by Mike, right? Right.
Yeah, that ain't me. I'm the kind of guy that like I'm gonna get up and I'm not a fucking Philistine, so like let's wipe down before we climb back in our bed and whatever. And I'll toss I'll toss you a rag in the sink too, but I'm gonna make the water warm for you. I like it cold because it's like a cold spoon. You know what I mean?
You should Google this, or not Google. Go to Amazon. Amazon.
Aim and search on, safe mode off. Google this.
Right.
Mike, you're ruining your reputation
Amazon
now.
I'm sorry. Amazon last year, we give each other, I mean, obviously gifts at Christmas, but last year I got a gift from her that was in a box, and it was like a white towel. And I'm like, this is interesting, right? She has opened it up and sewn on it. It said cum rag, right? So we have these cum rags next to it. I mean, it's awful, right? It's awful.
You know what, dude? You're living your best life, and anybody that's got anything against that, fuck them.
Right, true, right.
Jealous.
So, she's to be honest with you, she's hot, man. I mean, she's absolutely smoking. Like I'm playing outside of my league, right? Totally outside of my league. We drink our fair share. I mean, we could talk about how many drinks we've had in a week, compare, and that would be there's a lot of people in here that would lose to us because we love our tea, and we love a good bottle of red wine or a bottle of tequila or bourbon, or we love it all. So,
all right. So besides the debt, what's her favorite thing about you?
She says it's my eyes, but you know what I think? You know what I think she really likes, to be honest?
Primary answer.
Right. I think what really attracts her is we both came from poor families, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, we were really poor. Like I grew up in a single wide trailer down a dirt road in North Carolina, right? She grew up on a farm, like her dad was a farmer, and they didn't have anything, right? I think what she loves is just the security, right? You know, there's always money in the bank account. When we want to do something, we've got to a point in our life when we want to do something, the answer is normally not no, right? It's okay, let's do it. Let's figure it out. Let's do it, right? And I think we have a philosophy that we were brutally honest because we both came out of relationships. Like when we started hanging out together, we're just brutally honest about what we wanted. We have 5 things in our marriage that are non-negotiable. We're going to have great food. We're going to have really good drinks. We're going to travel. We're going to have sex, and we're going to hang out with friends. Now, there's a lot of other things that are non-negotiable in our personal lives, but those are the things that are non-negotiable in our relationship. Like, we're going to eat good. We're going to have great drinks. We're going to have sex, we're going to travel, and we're going to, do whatever else we do, right? But those are our 5 things. And then each of us have like our own personal convictions that we weave in together. Like, I mean, we're genuinely going to be good people. That's like a non-negotiable, right? We're going to be good people. We're going to tell the truth all the time. We're going to take care of our family.
Like, don't murder, don't lay with an ox wife or a goat.
We're not going to violate we're not going to violate the Big Ten, and we're going to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, all that stuff, right? But we're also going to do these 5 things. And if we don't do them, we have these things called check-ins, like where every week or 2, we just check in, right? And we're like, we got to take that restaurant off the rotation because it sucks, right? Or, hey, we haven't had sex in 3 days. Is everything okay, right? Stuff that.
Does that work, taking a restaurant off the rotation? Because I'd get Chick-fil-A the fuck out of here, but my wife might leave me over that.
You got to take her. I mean, you got to be intentional about this, right? If you
I'll be intentional. This worst restaurant on earth. And even if the food was good, the parking lot sucks.
Carson, it's God's chicken. You're fighting something that's beyond your control. As a good ex-Mormon, you know this, right? You can't fight God.
I'm more convinced of the existence of Anunnaki than God's chicken. So if we want to go there, let's go there because
I love it.
I'm going to get Nephilim on somebody.
Give your wife a bad experience, right? Go there 5 minutes before closing.
Spin her wedges, her waffle fries.
Go there 5 minutes before closing.
Emil, they did this.
Yeah, I mean, go there 5 minutes. Just go 5 minutes before closing and watch it take 7 minutes to get your food. And she's going to be like, I don't want to come here again, right? Because one of the allures about that place is you order it in 30 seconds. It's like a Mexican restaurant, right? 30 seconds later, you got this piece of chicken on 2 pieces of bun with these fries.
From the dawn of time, that should speak to heat lamps. I want some shit. I want it fresh. I want to go sit down. I want to have a cup of coffee and I want to feel regular thereafter. I want to regulate my bowels while I have lunch. All the things.
I mean, you guys got to have some nice restaurants in Idaho, right?
In Idaho, yes. Idaho Falls has been, but I can't talk shit. I really do love living here. And dude, it's been, for my wife and boys, holy shit, it's been so good for them. Holy shit, it's been,
Right,
it's
you
been
guys
amazing.
don't.
The food here is a massive disappointment. It's almost as bad as when I lived, when I spent years working up in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Regina, Moose Jaw. But yeah,
it's the go-to for you guys. If it's not Chick-fil-A, where do you go? Like, what's the local place you go to?
I mean, we've got a couple little steakhouses, you know, and they're decent. Yeah. But you also got to figure, I grew up in a poor house, but I'll tell you this. Let me tell you something about growing up poor. You know how to, your mama knows how to cook, because she's going to take the freaking dick of the dirt and figure out a way to make that tasty, because somebody's got to eat this week, you know? And my mother could cook. Holy crap, she could cook. She still can. So I grew up with that. Man, she cooks so damn good. So much flavor. And being there in Phoenix, dude, so much of that Latino is kind of influence. We ate a lot of Mexican food and absolutely love that. And then spent some time. Southern Utah's food was pretty disappointing too. I'm not a huge fan of Southern Utah's food scene. But then living in Vegas, where you could be 20 miles away from Las Vegas Strip, but just because of the way everything works there, you know, you're at some random ass bar, you're ordering a chicken Caesar salad, but it's made by somebody who last month was a 4-star Michelin chef, right?
Right.
And I feel like that going from Southern Utah to Idaho would have been easier than going from Vegas to Idaho. And it's not all bad here. There's some good stuff, but it's definitely much fewer and further between. So in Vegas, dude, you'd go to Jack in the Box, get you 2 of them tacos for $1, the mystery meat tacos. You'd open that shit up, they'd have diced chives on there. This shit was just fancy. It was
almost dinner time on the East Coast, and for a guy who missed lunch today, I'm a little hungry right now. So.
Feeling peckish.
How do you have your studio set up? Is it in the office, or you have it set up at home?
No, this is at my office.
Love it.
I can't work from home, man. When we first moved to Idaho, I tried for about 6 months. How do I say this without coming off overly dramatic? I wanted to die. Man, it just sucked. Some people love it, and kudos to them. There's something for me. You know, there's times when I'm sitting down with a client to talk about their $500,000, $1 million, $5 million. They've worked their ass off for 40 years. They deserve me showing up in at bare minimum a polo that's tucked in and maybe a button-down shirt, you know. But when most of my job, you know, if I work 40 hours a week, 35 hours of it's some behind-the-scenes stuff, I come in a t-shirt and jeans, right?
Do you wear same color shirt, jeans every day, or do you switch it up?
I switch it up. I have a little bit of range, but not a lot. I really like black. First of all, it's slimming, so I mean, I travel with black when I speak on stage. Like, I'll be at the Farmers Insurance Mega Conference in 2 weeks.
Yep.
I'll be down in Vegas in 3 days. Actually, I'm headed down to Vegas. And I'll probably take 3 or 4 or 5 black T-shirts. Yep. I don't have to worry about spilling food on them. I don't have to worry about sweat stains. I don't have to... It works. It's easy. I don't have to worry about having a logo that somebody wants to come after me for afterwards because they didn't like what I said while I wore it. You probably get that. A lot of folks don't get it, but once you start getting some influence and you have a platform, people start getting pissy. You know, Nike never reached out to some dude for freaking smoking crack on the sidewalk wearing a Nike shirt.
Right.
But when somebody with a platform who has a voice gets on a podcast or speaking on stage in front of hundreds and thousands of people or has any kind of influence, they get up there and they're wearing their you know, Nike symbol and they say something Nike doesn't agree with, all of a sudden it's a problem.
Yep.
So yeah, I stick with plain T-shirts quite a bit, jeans or you know, just some sort of pants, and it is what it is. But yeah, I don't like working at home. I like getting up, getting ready for work,
Yep.
and getting out the door. It just puts me in a different mindset. Some people don't need it. I do.
Some people like just to roll out of bed and start working, right? I like to have I like to have a morning, right?
Yes.
I want to wake up, get laid, right? And then go to work, right?
You're just a horn dog. I know this about you. I like you even more than I thought I did. No, right. I get it, man. Here's what I want, Mike. I want separation. I am so damn addicted that if I am not intentional about not just the time I spend, but where I spend that time, I can't help it. And makes me sound like the shittiest husband and father on earth, but I end up ignoring my wife, my kids, and because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If I'm not intentional about it, I just can't. And maybe it's a one-track mind of a guy, but the separation for me, and I still struggle sometimes, but the separation for me, it's so key for a healthy relationship and with my wife, my boys, and even myself. Right. I don't like me when I'm always in that mode, because I will roll out of bed and go to work.
Yep. That's exactly right. I'll do the same thing. And I will work until I go to bed at night. Like when Liana was out of town in Wyoming, I literally woke up, worked until I went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was 15 hours, right? And to me, that's nothing, right? Because I enjoy doing it, right? But it's not fair to her when she's here, right? When she's here, I need to be here.
Right? Dude, my wife just took my boys down to Vegas literally this last weekend, hang out with some family and see her new niece. And I didn't go because originally I'd had some stuff planned that I had to do, and that ended up falling through. And, it was a couple of days before, and it was like, well, I'll stay here, maybe catch up on a few things. And I did. I worked 18 hours a day the whole time. And frankly, people are like, this sounds miserable. Oh no, my phone was off. It was radio silent, and I just did my thing. And it's such a place of peace for me, but it's such a place of peace. It will create havoc and destroy the other things I want in life, because, I've got a good friend. This podcast is not about me. It's about you. I want people to get to know you, but I want your thoughts on this. This dude has been one of my best friends in the business. You're probably familiar with Blue Vase Award, New Agent Achievement. And
yeah.
So Matt and I earned Blue Vase together. We earned New Agent Achievement together. In fact, the company I started as a captive multi-line agent for American National Insurance.
Yeah.
I was in Southern Utah. He was in New York, Long Island. And we were the only two. Actually, I think there was one other gal. But three of us that entire year that earned New Agent Achievement. So that's really where Matt and I met, was at our professional seminar where, they get you up on stage, they have you dressed to the nines, and you walk across the stage and get your little trophy while some hairy knuckled geriatric wraps his fingers around your butt cheek and says, good job. And if you can't tell, I'm not a big fan of corporate events. I think they're bullshit. But that's where I met Matt. And I was talking to Matt. He's been one of my best friends in the business since then, and in life. And he said something that I've heard it 1,000 times, but it just hit me like a ton of bricks. This was a week or two ago. He said, Carson, you gotta quit kidding yourself, dude. A priority is not a priority until you prioritize it.
Right.
And if you're not going to prioritize it, quit beating yourself up because it's not a priority. And I was like, fuck.
It's true, man. You probably
what are your thoughts on that in regards to intentionality, time, and all these things?
I got a staff of 9 in my office that all of them want me to do something, right? But we use a system in our office, right, that they can request I do something. I can request that somebody else does it, right? Because to me, if I know the talents of everybody on the team, and I know that some other people will get joy doing something more than I would. I mean, I could probably do it faster, maybe do it 15, 30 minutes instead of an hour. But, part of the journey is learning and researching and finding out ways to solve a problem yourself. That's how you help people grow. But you're right, man, there's very few things we can really accomplish in a day, really, right? I mean, because there's so many distractions out there. And so, I had, 4 meetings with 4 new clients today, and my priority is getting things out to them, right? My priority is not figuring out like an offer letter for a new employee, I pass that on to my chief operating officer, right? Because she's good at it. She gets excited about it. She wants to do that. Like we talk about the major details of passing on. But man, priorities, right? Matt is exactly right, by the way. Priority is not a priority until it is a priority. I mean, that's like some wisdom. I mean, he's like preaching, man. I wish I could say amen. I wish I could meet him and tell him that, because there's nothing greater than, I mean, think about your health, Carson, right? There's people who, are on their deathbed at 65 who all of a sudden say, man, I should have prioritized my health back then, but they were living their life to the fullest, right? And if they wouldn't have eaten those cheeseburgers, they gotten up and walked, 20 minutes a day, they'd have drunk more water than drunk alcohol, they could have probably lived to 75 or 80. But it wasn't a priority. They had their, the priority was, self-indulgence, eating what you want to, drinking what you want to, living the lifestyle. You ultimately pay for the things you don't prioritize. That's the key, right? You pay for them. So
dude, that hits.
Yeah. So if you don't prioritize, like what Matt said, then you're going to pay for it one day. You're either, if you don't prioritize getting something back to a client, you don't deserve to have that client. If you don't prioritize that new system that you're working on to try to help other people be successful in the business, and then you half-ass it and give them something, you're not really helping, right? If you don't prioritize time with your wife, you can't expect to get laid, right? If you don't prioritize time with your kids, you don't get to do things when they're adults, right? I mean, you have to prioritize like your kids while they're young to kind of get, I mean, they'll remember the time dad spent at work versus the time dad spent at home with them. And if you prioritize them and give them the time that not that they won't, because kids want all of your time, they're just natural. But if you give them the time that, the valuable time, and you're staying present with them in that time, you earn the right in the future to be in their lives beyond when they're not in your house anymore. But, you're going to pay for the stuff you don't prioritize.
Damn, dude. That hits. I tell people all the time, they're like, I want time freedom. And I'm like, okay, you got to buy it. You have to buy time freedom. And I don't know, you just the way you're saying that, you're going to pay for what you don't prioritize. It just fits in that same category to me. It's like that the things you want, you pay for, and the things that you said you wanted but you weren't willing to work for, you end up paying for it too. I don't know, it's weird, man. This life is weird. Mike, you wanted to go a little bit longer on this thing, and we can go as long as you want. What do you want to talk about? What's on your mind? If this was your only opportunity, and I know it's not, because you're on stages, you're in front of all sorts of people, and you're going to continue to. You're a badass. I've known you for 45 minutes, and I've gathered that. But if this was the only thing that ever survived the apocalypse of the Nephilim, as they rain down out of the firmament on this flat Earth,
some Genesis stuff right there, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get it. But no, what would you want to get into? I mean, I'm a big proponent of 5 stewardships in life: physical, mental, spiritual, family, and work. Right? Yeah. That's one of my big things. That's why with this podcast, I don't want it to all be business. There's so many things. I'm also a big proponent of there's no such thing as balance unless you're moving forward. Does a bicycle not have 2 wheels, and do both wheels not have to be spinning the same direction for you to stay up? They fucking do. And so that's kind of my thing. So we can get into business, but man, there's some other things we can get into. If this was your last will and testament, the last thing you could leave to people, what do you want to talk about?
I tell you that the most important thing I created in this world were my kids. Right. And, most people want to talk about creating wealth and creating, this big ass business and all this stuff. But the biggest thing you create is your kids. And then how you treat your kids is really what your legacy is. Right. Because if they're shitty, right, they're shitty because you probably made them that way. Right. Kids are moldable, right? They're not trainable, but they're moldable, right? A kid's going to go off and do what they want to once they get some free thinking about them, but you can shape how they're thinking, right? And I mean, if you love them, if you are open and honest with them, like I'm open and honest with my kids, right? They know about my business, right? They knew about my business when they were 3, 5, 8 years old, right? We were talking about asset allocation and diversification, right? When they were that young, we were talking about, payrolls and, hey, dad can't, we can't go on this trip this year because dad didn't have a good year at work because I was lazy, right?
Dude, I literally was telling my 6-year-old, almost 7, the other day, he's like, Dad, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I started a couple more businesses a few years ago and I got to build the bucket. And he's like, what's the bucket? And I'm like, it's like a bucket that fills with water. And once it's full and it pours over, that's time I get to come back to home. But until it's full, I have to keep going. And I've been in this business for almost a decade now, but just a couple years ago, really, we made some really paradigm shifts. And so we're having those conversations. In fact, I got to do a whole object lesson this weekend on it. We're gonna get some solo cups and stack them up, and one flows over into the others, and as those flow over, now you have that much more pouring out. And
right,
I think it's awesome you had those conversations with your kids.
Yeah. So like the kids, that's what I want somebody to know about me. My kids are important. My wife is, like, be honest with you, the other two most important people in my life that are still living beyond my kids is my current wife, Leanna, and my ex-wife, Chris. Those are the two most important people. And I want people to know that, right? My ex is important to me because she still helps raise my kids, right? There's a direct link there. That's the link back to my kids. Leanna is important to me because she's my present and future, right? And she's the one that she is my life partner that we're going to build businesses together.
As long as she appreciates that dick.
Yeah, that's right, man. It's good. Yeah. The other thing I would say that I wish people knew is, politics just doesn't matter, right? The shit that's happening in Washington, does it really impact us? Do you think the president knows who Carson and Mike is? Do you think he's going to watch this podcast? Do you think anybody in the federal government's going to watch this? Right?
Maybe the
Do you
IRS.
think they care about us?
They've been out to get me for years.
Right, but they don't care about us. They're self-fulfilling. Like, they're trying to build their business as government, right? They're trying to build our business. So what we should focus on is trying to build our business and then operate in the system, right? Just operate in the system that you got to be aware of it, but spending time talking about it, you should go vote, right? Everybody should vote. But other than that, spending time talking about it is wasted time. I got more time to do something else. And if we all spent less time talking about politics, think about everything we could get accomplished, right? And the reason the people in Washington love us talking about them is because then they feel important. Stop talking about them. And then they'll actually probably get their job done because they'll want attention. But like kids, wife, politics, don't like it. Business, want to grow it as big as I possibly can, but I want to do it from the impact standpoint. We talked about that earlier, right? Like, if we're going to memorialize Mike, it's going to be, I want one day somebody standing at a conference saying, I'm on this stage because Mike helped me get there, right? That's what I want. I want to hear stories when I'm 90 years old of, a 40-year-old female joined the business because she heard me speak at a conference and's like, I want to be in that business because of what he said. Right? If you can get some core beliefs, like you have some 5 pillars of your life, or 5
stewardships.
5 stewardships of your life, right? Like, I have the 5 non-negotiables, right? Everybody should, if you can't summarize it on one hand, like if you can't say what a relationship's about in one hand or what the business is going to be by saying 5, if you have to say 11 or 12, it's too complicated. Make the complicated simple and you'll make a lot of money in life. Make the complicated statements seem simple, people will trust you more. That's just the things there. So,
dude, and I've found you won't just make money, you'll have more success in relationships. If your relationship is complicated, it's not healthy.
Correct.
I've never heard somebody be like, my relationship is so healthy, but so complicated. Like, all right, fucking Darwin. No, it's so fulfilling because it's simple.
Right. Most definitely. That's the stuff I'd want people to know, right? I'm not an overly complicated person. People may look at me from the outside and be like, man, he does a lot of sales. He's on this trip or that trip, makes a lot of money. And all of that is very true, right? But it's because just keep things very simple in life. We were talking about shirts earlier. I wear a white shirt every day, right? I wake up, do my thing.
You're brave. Me and Ketchup don't have a healthy enough relationship for me to wear white very often.
Right. But, in my office, there's 2 or 3 more white shirts waiting there for after lunch, right? Right.
Smart.
So you just plan for it, right? You just plan for the things, right? So,
Dude, so you down to are you down to have some real talk? Like real talk, real talk?
do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
So, man, I've got so many questions. So many questions. Number one, why didn't we chat sooner? Why haven't we been friends? Why are we not fucking barbecuing?
We should be. Come to Norfolk. We'll come to Idaho.
Yeah, don't come to Idaho now. It's starting to get cold. No, it's beautiful right now. Give it another month and
Right.
another 60 days, and we'll start seeing like -10, -20. But
Carson, that guy that didn't want to collaborate with you earlier because you guys were doing two things, fuck him, man. We'll collaborate.
oh, dude, no, you and I are gonna do some things. I'm already like, hey, I've got this event in January in Scottsdale. If I could add another day to add more speaker slots, I'd put you on it right now.
I'd come. Scottsdale is one of my favorite places to visit in the world, right?
I love Scottsdale, man.
I go out to Scottsdale every year for the Super Bowl week. I go out there for that Phoenix Open, Waste Management Open, for the Pro Am, and it's a fun event, man. That's a party that just happens to be on a golf course. If you've never done that before, you should find a way to get in there because it is a party that happens to have golf.
Yeah, I haven't. I tend to stay away from golf. I hate golf.
You should do this.
I was brought into this business and told you can't make money if you don't golf. And you know what I found? And this is coming from a lowly, fat, tattooed white kid who's a decent insurance agent. And my average client is worth multiple tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. I got a few billionaire clients. And the only time we go golfing, we don't even golf. They don't even golf. We just grab a bottle of bourbon. We go drive the golf course and hide in the bushes and cacaw at other people out on Trump or Pelican in Newport. My guy, Chuck's my assistant. And dude, I should have made that hire 3-4 years ago. Holy crap, that's changed my life. Such a good dude. And he's doing such a great job. But Chuck hits me up. He's like, hey, this guy Mike wants to jump on the podcast because I'd put some stuff out there, right? Hey, I'm launching a new podcast. I don't want to just talk to anybody that wants to get in front of an audience. I want to talk to significant people doing significant things from any business, athletes, religious leaders, whatever. Right. So Chuck hits me up and he's like, hey, I'm talking to this guy, Mike. I think he saw a post of mine or something on social media. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck Mike is. We already covered that ground. Yep. But what made you decide you wanted to come on here? Because I'm not in the world of CFPs. I've not gotten along with CFPs more than I've gotten along with them. Not because they're all bad people, but damn.
I don't get along with CFPs, to be honest with you. I mean,
get along with, but I don't get along with insurance agents either. Ask Northwestern Mutual. If we're going to throw names out there,
I'm not going to say names, but
they ain't ever hiring me. Are you kidding me?
In my staff, I've got this assistant that, all she does is social media. I mean, she does more than that, but most of her job is social media. And so, they always look for ways to, get me front and center on places, right? And so I've done other podcasts before, right, that have done fairly well. But they're like, Mike, you need to go on this one because it sounds like you could say anything you want to. And they, part of this is for them to, make fun of me, what I'm saying, right, at some point. So they'll get on to me about my morning routine. Right?
All that sex stuff, dude, you're going to go into the office tomorrow and they're going to be like, here comes Daddy Pervert.
You want to hear, hopefully, if it's posted that fast, that would be amazing.
No, it'll probably be a week or two.
We have this symbol, like this virtual, I mean, I want to give away internal secrets of the office here, right? But we have I have an Instagram account with a lot of followers, right? But I have, everybody in my office has the ability to post to the story side of Instagram, like on my piece, right? So, but they can also tag. And so we have this thing, like you can be 30 minutes late to your workday if you got laid the previous night. Okay? And you don't tell us that, right? We don't want to know. We don't want you guessing if you're coming in. You just got to tell us you're going to be late. So everybody has a candle next to their bed. And if they take a picture of the candle and post it to the story, we know.
Y'all
right?
know.
We know. We don't ask questions.
You haven't had a sexual harassment law claim or a lawsuit yet? How's your EPLI insurance? Jesus.
It's huge. It's huge. But hey, listen, here's the thing, right? you hire really good people
Yeah.
who want to live with you beyond work. Like my wife has helped one of my employees buy a house, then helped her mom buy a house, right? We got one employee who's pregnant now. She comes and, she tells us
She was
about
probably 30 minutes late at least once,
probably, right?
from what I understand.
It's just one of those things, right? Is like, we want people to realize you live. Hey, listen, if you come in 30 minutes late, you're going to work 30 minutes longer. It's not like we're giving you a free 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just one of those joke things. And I'll tell you, I didn't create that. The girls in the office created that, right? And I kept saying, why is there a candle posted on the story? Like, why? And they would never tell me for the longest time. Never tell me. And then they finally told me, right? We were in the thing joking about it one day. It was awesome. So,
men get the bad rap, but I will say this, like men are always like, oh, you're a pervert. It's because men will grab an ass. For sure. It's absolutely inappropriate. Women will talk about it for the next 6 months.
Yeah, I would never do that in the workaiplace. I respect.
Yeah, no. That's not what I mean. What I mean is,
we're going to talk reality, right? Caitlin, who's my chief operating officer. I mean, watch out for that name, right? Caitlin Coster, 10 years ago.
Real. Aiden, before you post this, remind me, we got to check in on Mike's EPLI insurance.
It's fine. We're all good. We're all good.
That employer's liability, I mean,
we're all good. Caitlin, though, in my office, we went to lunch. She was in the office. We went and had lunch at a sushi place, and we know the waitress there. Her name's Becky. And Becky's like, walks in, and she's like, oh, hey, Caitlin, hey, big boss man, is what she calls me. But at the end, Becky comes over and like hugs Caitlin, right? And she likes Caitlin. And Caitlin goes, wow, that's the most skin-on-skin contact I've had in months. And I'm like, shouldn't be telling me that. She goes, like, it's just like one of those things, right? You develop friendships in the workplace.
It's like, right? Mike, when was the last time I posted a candle to the stories?
I don't know. I don't know.
You know.
I don't know. I really don't know, because I don't look. Like, when I shut my phone out at the end of the night, I don't look. I don't go back, and they know. It's
your staff might have screwed up, by the way. You might have to fire them, because you might get your whole ass canceled by being on here. I don't know.
Great. I'm going to get all these random candles posted to my tag. People are going to post candles tagging @Ideas by Mike on Instagram. And my staff's going to be like, why did we get 100 people tagging Ideas by Mike with a candle? And we're just going to send that little clapping emoji, okay, right, to everybody who does that. So it's good.
Yeah. I love it, dude. A little soft marketing, Mike.
Yeah.
No, we're not at the end here, but how do folks get a hold of you? How do they tune into you? Because, dude, I want to tune into you a lot. I've just come to find in the last couple hours here, you're not a piece of shit.
Yeah. So it's Ideas by Mike, right? It's everything. It's @Ideas by Mike. So Instagram @Ideas by Mike, Facebook @Ideas by Mike, YouTube @Ideas by Mike. Meetwithmikemilligan.com. That's the website. You could send me a DM, right, on Instagram. Send me something on Facebook, right? Well, we connect. I mean, if
you've got to send a whole message right now to my to Chuck, my guy, because I've got a whole idea on some shit I'm going to send you. I've got a whole idea. You're going to get a basket. I
can't wait, man. The ideas thing is just like, it's a marketing ploy, right? It's just like everybody says, what's your ideas, right? Well, I want to turn ideas into money. That's what I want to do, right? I just don't want to have ideas. I actually want to turn them into money. Like, I want to profit. I want you to profit off of them. I want me to profit off of them. I want us all to do it together. I mean, isn't that the goal of having a beneficial business relationship? Yes. But, people would say, why Ideas by Mike for a financial company? Well, why not? Right? Why not? It's better. The last thing this world needs is another something financial group, or something wealth, or you need some creativity in this space. I mean, compliance approved it, so it's got to be okay, right? So
if compliance approved it, they feel reasonably secure that they're not going to get sued. If anyone's going to get sued, it's you, and they're not holding the E&O certificate. So
right.
Exactly. But right. No, So no, what did you expect coming on here? Your staff told you, hey, you can say anything you want. What was your preconceived notion? What was
I had no
what
notion.
was the game plan?
I tell you what they told me. They said that they told me that you had started the podcast, right? And I just want to help, right? I mean, you need to guess. I want to hop on and help, right? Hopefully there's been one or two or three things that I've said that will help somebody along the way, right? And I just want to help you launch this thing, right? I don't know if this is episode 3 or 10 or 20 or whatever, right? But I mean, I want to subscribe to it. I want to tell other people to subscribe to it. I can't wait to see where this thing is at episode 200 or 500, right? You just don't know where this is going to go. And I just love being on the ground floor of things, right? So I can't wait to see where it's A2C, right? I can't wait the A2C goes. Can't wait to see where this thing launches off to. I can't wait to see how this helps you accomplish the 5 stewardships that you have in your life. I mean, this is going to be, I just like being a part of something and giving back, right? That's why.
Dude, I like that, and I appreciate it very much. For real, I'm super glad that your team reached out to Chuck, and I'm glad Chuck was like, "Hey, Carson, you got to have him on." Even though I was like, "Who the fuck is this?"
We don't know what we know until we know it, right? I mean, we didn't know each other, but now we're like, man, this is fun, right? I mean, some of the best partnerships I have in business are people that I would never have run into who live in Nashville, Tennessee, Scottsdale, Houston, Texas, right? I'm a virtual guy. Like I hop on Zoom. I do everything on Zoom, right? I'll do every once in a while some stuff face to face, not a lot though. But like I'm virtual all the time. But the best relationships I have in this business are people that I would not have met at the Food Lion down the street or the Walmart down the street, right? Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people get caught up in where they are, like where they live, and that's the thought processes they do, right? But there's so much more to find in this world, right? You could find great people who are doing great things in that when your mission and vision kind of align with each other and you're going the same way, you can just do bigger things together, right? Than you ever could individually. And that really is what this is about. Remember, only 16% or 18% or whatever of people have a financial person they can deal with. We're trying to increase that, right? We're trying to make people's lives better, right? We're trying to get the woman, instead of collecting the carts, to push the cart, to walk in and go shopping, right? We're trying to make them better grandparents, like you said earlier.
Dude, so not to get off topic, I don't want to get into business, but doesn't it hurt your heart that like 16, 18% have a financial person they could deal with, and 41 trillion out of 80 something trillion, $41 trillion out of 80 total trillion in the entire freaking world, all governments, 50% of the world's wealth is held inside of United States retirement accounts.
Yeah.
And only 16 to 18% have somebody they can actually talk to who knows their ass from a hole in the ground, because your HR department is fucking stupid.
Crazy. And this is where, when people say America's broke, right? America's got the best revenue stream ever.
40 trillion in just retirement accounts. That doesn't even account for GDP, and holy shit.
And I mean, let's just say that, the tax on that is 20%, right? What's 20% of 40 trillion, right? And you think we got enough
trillion for people that are slow at math.
That's right. That we got enough money to keep funding this thing, even if we keep borrowing debt. That's what a lot of people like. This thing's going to fail. It will fail one day, but it won't fail because of our debt. It'll fail because of the people we elect, right? That's the greatest thing. Somebody's going to try to run for a third term or fourth term, and they're going to try to become a dictator, and that's how we'll fail. We're not going to fail because of the debt, right? I mean, because if our economic system fails, we're all out farming. Everybody in the world is out farming.
I feel like it's a movie. It's got to be I'm not a big superhero person, but I feel like it's a superhero movie. There's this line, and I'm going to totally botch it. It's something to the extent of, that evil only wins when good men do nothing, or good women do nothing, or something along those lines. And that's it. To your point, the government failing, the dollar failing, that's not going to drop this economy. People don't even realize, do you know how many times the dollar has freaking failed? We reestablished a new currency and we just decided to call it the dollar, but it's not the same thing.
Right.
It's a whole different currency. We're talking like 4, 5, 6 times in the last 200 years.
Right.
And but prior to that, we were talking wampum, right? So let's go clear back. But yeah,
You know
what makes it all fail is when people give up and don't do shit. When good people fail to take decisive quality action, that's what'll tank. That's what'll sink this ship.
Yeah. And all
other than that, we'll survive it.
We're fine. We're absolutely fine. One of the things that, when people say it's going to fail, it's because they're putting fear, right? What's the ulterior motive for telling people the dollar is going to fail? It's so they go buy gold, right? Well, oh my gosh, what do you think the profit is on gold right now, right? Or the dollar's going to fail, so people start holding cash, right? And when they hold cash, then who benefits from that? We talked about the American dream earlier. Fear's out there, to kind of squash people's dreams and, make them scared, to make them indecisive. And, you have to operate in a world where there's no fear, but you're living in reality, right? If you live in reality and you make decisions in reality, you don't care if the dollar goes down, because if the dollar goes down, it's going to hurt us all, right? It's not going to be just you. It's going to be all of us.
Yeah, the dollar was never anything more than an exchange of value. So who fucking cares? We can trade in bottle caps. That's all the dollar ever was. What was an exchange of value. And you want to know who benefits when you're holding dollars? Uncle Sam does, because they can inflate and deflate the dollar to whatever degrees, and to whatever degree. And you're holding 100 of them, they make 100 of those dollars worth 50 of what they were yesterday. And now when you turn those 50 back in, guess what? They're the ones that reap the equity. Uncle Sam is the biggest beneficiary of cash. People are like, oh, I don't trust investments. I don't trust advisors. I don't trust insurance. I don't trust annuities. So I put it under my pillow. I always have 2 things to say to those people, Mike. Number one, your biggest beneficiary in that instance is probably the government due to devaluation and inflation. And number 2, who the fuck do you think you are to think you're not going to get drunk one night and wind up spending all that on blue block or sunglasses and wicker chairs on late night TV? 2004, you're going to buy a goddamn Ford Excursion at 2 a.m. on an infomercial. Shut the fuck up. Like, oh yeah, well, it's cash. My homeowner's insurance will cover it. Nope. $2,500 is what you're covered for in most states. You have $100,000 under the pillow and it burns up $2,500. Cash is one of the cash and home equity. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Those are probably 2 of the biggest lies ever sold to the American public. That is what you are told so that legislators can reap wealth. That is my opinion. Firmament on a Nuki. Let's get into all of it, but it's real. This one I can put on a spreadsheet and show you.
You should do that on a podcast. That right
on a
there.
Nuki on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, your guest being a spreadsheet. You and the spreadsheet just talk to each other. It would be hilarious.
The way AI goes these days, we could make that happen. That spreadsheet will talk.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Make it call me Papa Porter
all day.
Yeah,
in a British accent.
I was going for Irish, but yeah, I can go British.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever it is. That's right.
All right, so a few more questions before we wrap up here.
All right.
You ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's the most devastating thing that ever happened to you in your life.
Oh man. This is not even close. Not even close. Is last July, my wife and I were sitting on the beach that's about 5 minutes from here, and I get a phone call from my mom's phone, and it's my stepdad telling me that my brother was in a head-on collision and he died. Right? That was by far and away the most devastating thing that's ever happened to me. And I mean, it was. And I've had some, I've had other losses in my life. I've had some, like I told you, business failure, divorce. I've had some other stuff, right? But like devastating, like it still like takes my breath away now just to talk about it, because he was 41 years old. He had literally struggled to become a man, like from age 18 to 36. Like he just struggled. He was immature, making bad decisions. His wife was like the glue in their marriage. She probably had 200 opportunities to walk away from him, but she didn't. And I saw, like, over the last 3, 4, 5 years, them becoming something that I wanted. And knowing that he had my niece and nephew, one was graduating high school last year, the other one was 12. Just to know what I was getting ready to walk into. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's hard to imagine, right? We have to go on in life. But, they're 5 hours away from me. But it's hard to imagine, like, what their life is like, knowing that he is everywhere but nowhere, right? His pictures are all around the house. His clothes are still there. His smell is in the house, right? When they go around town, people ask about him because he had become that kind of personality. He was a white guy, right? But he grew dreadlocks. Like in the last 2 years of his life, he grew dreadlocks, and they were big. And I asked him one time, I said, why do you do that? He's like, because I want to relate to people. And he told me, he's like, you make an impact in other people's life in what you do. I wanted to do that. And everybody will come up and ask me about my hair, and it allows me to get into a conversation with them. And I mean, he pulled gas, right? In that little small town in North Carolina, propane heat is how most people heated their home. And so he pulled a propane tank around town and filled people's propane up. But his funeral was probably the most diverse attended event in that southern town ever. I mean, that is by far and away the most devastating thing that's ever happened to me.
Dude, that breaks my heart. I'm sorry for your loss, number one. And I mean, there's so many takeaways from that. I appreciate you so much for sharing that. That's huge.
Thanks for asking the question, man. I would talk about him like, we just went through life insurance month, and I talk about him in the form of like life insurance because, he's one of those things, right? I mean, I'm a financial planner, right? And 18 years ago, I put a 30-year term policy on him, right? $1 million. It cost $9 a month, right? Because he was a baby, right? He was 24 years old, 23 years old. Put $1 million. The worst check I've ever had to deliver in my life, right? It's the worst one. But, and I know where that money is. It's sitting at Wells Fargo Bank in a checking account, right? And it sucks, right? We all would rather have him there, but the security that like that brings. I mean, people who know real devastation are willing to act on things, right? I mean, people in the community where I am they're changing stuff in his name. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard this before, Carson. I think people have 2 deaths on earth. I think it's the day they die, right? They're done, right? And then we can talk about physical, spiritual, whatever. That's not that big of a deal. But I think the second time you die is the last name your name is spoken on earth, right? I think people, we still talk about George Washington for a reason, right? We talk about Gandhi for a reason, or people talk about Gandhi. But in your generation, your line, right? The Porter line, right? Go back 2 generations. Do people still talk about, your grandfather's probably still living, your great-grandfather. Do people still talk about your great-grandfather?
No, both my grandparents, both my grandfathers are deceased, and I've got one other grandfather that's still living. Both the ones that are deceased, that we talk about them every now and then, but by and large, they don't. It breaks my heart. They're some of the best people I know.
Right. And so, like, at some point in the future, maybe it's when you die, but their name will be spoken for the last time on this earth at some point in the future, right? Mike Milligan will go for maybe a little bit beyond my time. Maybe it'll go for maybe 100 years, but if this earth's still around in 200 years, it'll be like I was never here, right? It's like I'm never here. But like that's like the impact I try to tell people, right? Is try to be as impactful while you're here, but when you leave too, right? Leave something that's meaningful. That thing about my brother with his dreadlocks, we had like some shirts made up that said like, ask me about him. And there you see them in that little town, right? People are wearing them, right? And when my niece and nephew, right, see that shirt, they get this great feeling that their dad had meaning, right? It's a shirt. It's just a shirt, right? That's all it is. But it gives them a sense that even though he's not there, he's everywhere. And that's a big feeling, like they can like feel him, they can sense him because people are talking about him in the best way they possibly can. I mean, but that's like, when people say devastating things, right? You got to be able to take devastation and build on it some way. But man, like when somebody asked me that, when you asked me that, like I got the feeling of being on the beach. I remember what my wife and I had gone to Chipotle, a Mexican place, right? And got some food. We took it to the beach. We were eating it on the beach. I remember it was sunny. It was hot. I had a work phone call with a client. I remember who she is still. And then my mom had called my mom's phone had called while I was on that call. And I called her right back. And I'll never forget that day. The day, right, it was like all in slow motion because we immediately left the beach, went home, right? We didn't take anything with us. We grabbed our dog and we went, no clothes, right? And I just wanted to get to my mom as fast as I possibly could, right? And when I walked in, my wife and my stepdad grabbed my wife and said, let's go outside. And my mom and I just sat there and my mom cried like a baby for an hour and a half. She just cried. It was devastating, right? Because parents should never bury a kid, right? They definitely, and we know that everybody dies with an appointment on their calendar, right? Well, my brother, when he died, had a Disney World trip on his calendar. They had a cruise that they were going on. This is stuff that was paid for, right? He had his son's high school graduation. He was thinking about his daughter getting married and walking her down the aisle, right? His son graduated from college. He and his wife were this struggle they had was going to turn into something beautiful. It was interrupted, right? It's gone. I mean, that's like real devastation. And I'm like a degree away from it. I mean, my brother's wife, my brother's wife, his wife is like, she's still living it, right? They just had their anniversary, right? September 21st was which would have been their 21st year married, right? And, everybody, she was saying, hey, I miss him today. And I was like, yeah, you miss him? Yeah, you miss him because you're in the same bed that you guys slept in. His smell is still there. She probably hasn't changed the sheets because she doesn't want that smell to go away. I mean, devastation can be powerful if it's turned the right way. And listen, there's devastating things that happen to people that it's hard to recover from. I mean, there's some real devastation out there and people that they get hurt, they get hit by a drunk driver, right? And they're in a wheelchair, right? People get raped, right? And, you just cocoon up and you can't, I mean, there's a lot of devastating things that happen to people, right? But, if you're still living, you got a chance to bounce back from a devastation and you got a chance to make an impact, right? Like the impact on my brother that I want to make is I want to make sure that for the next 150 years, people say the name Jonathan Milligan. I want them to say it. And I want them to say, this is what he did. He got out of his comfort zone so he could connect with people while he was pulling propane gas, right? He was a deeply spiritual guy, right? Really deeply spiritual and wanted to connect with people on a spiritual level. And he did everything he could, right, to do that. I mean, it's just, he went all in life, right? He lived it to the fullest, but it was interrupted. And it's a shame, right? It's a shame, right? And it wasn't his fault. Somebody just made the wrong turn on a highway and he was coming around a curve and they were both going really fast, right? It's just a small mistake, right? That somebody made that cost 2 lives. And it wasn't intentional. I don't think it was intentional, but it forever changed this world for my family. And it changed my perspective on a lot of things in this world. So.
Damn, dude.
Carson, thanks for asking that question, by the way. Because I get to, I want people to know, right? I want people to know that he was a man, that he lived, that he struggled, but he got his shit together. And when he got his shit together, he was so fun to be with, right? He was such a great husband. He became a great father. And so remember 18 years of being a child in adulthood, but he figured it out, right? When he figured it out, he had the people around him to celebrate with him. And it was freaking amazing to see.
That's some pretty heavy stuff. You want to know something I found? When folks have something heavy on one end of the scale, they tend to have something heavy on the other side of the scale. So I also want to ask you, Mike, what's the most significant thing that's ever happened in your life?
You know, I think it's still yet to be determined, to be honest. I see like the significance, like I see some big significant things happening in the future, right? And, I could go out tonight and die in a car wreck too, right? So it's not really fair, but like the significant thing is I see it through like my kids, right? I see my son in medical school right now, and he's going to save people's lives because of what he's doing, the choice of me. I see my daughter who's like my daughter Grace, who's in college right now playing soccer. I have the three kids. She's really the most unathletic of the three, and yet she's a four-year player on a college soccer team, captain for the last 2 years. She didn't speak until she was 4 years old, right? Didn't speak until she was 4 years old. She learned sign language, right? We were doing all that. She didn't speak, but she just worked harder than anybody ever did, right? And so, like, that was significant to see her coming in. Paige, my daughter who's going around the world, she's the one that's just like me, right? And she's going to do amazing things. But like my biggest significant accomplishment up until this point has been my kids, right? There's some people would say on the outside looking in, man, you're top this, right? In the nation, you're top that, right? Your financial planning, you got $1 million home, right? You go on trips all around the world, right? That stuff that's living, right? That's not significance. That's me wanting to see stuff, right? That's me wanting to live comfortably. That's not significant though. Significant is about what like my next generation is going to do to make the world better, and hopefully being around to see that. I do want to significantly change this industry. I told you that. Like I want to see this industry look more like the people we serve, right? And not be, 4, 5, 6 companies of names we won't name, which we did, dictating how people live their life and manage their money, right? I want people to use money. 41 trillion or whatever in retirement plans. Imagine what $41 trillion could be in experiences for people. Imagine what it could do to solve the problems of the world, right? Imagine what it could do for the climate, or imagine what it could do for, health of somebody, right? It may be able to solve cancer, right? It may be able to beat cancer. Who knows? But I want to be able to make an impact with people with their money, to be able to see where they're going in the future with it.
Dude, I love that. Have you ever dug into those numbers, 41 trillion?
I mean, I've heard those numbers, and I know they go up significantly. Like one of the most significant things, like, I mean, you want to just chat business for like 2 minutes here. I mean, we know that like tax rates are going to go up. They have to, right? They just have to. I mean, we know they're slated to go up in 2025. We know that there's provisions. We know how to help people get like tax-free retirement. We know how to help people pay the tax now and retire the debt that they owe to the IRS through like some conversions. We know all of this, right? The thing about it is like one of my personal crusades is like, my hope is that by the time I retire, I get $5 billion in Roth IRAs. That's like, it's just a random number, right? Like I want to get $5 billion that was going to be taxed into Roth IRAs, because when it gets to a Roth IRA, what happens? Well, it's never taxed again. It's money that's outside of the government control, right? Well, at least as we stand now, it's outside the government control. But like, I just want to educate people on that piece, right? And I want them to know that you don't have to, you can either manage your future or it will be managed for you, right? You'll be told what to do with your money in the future. You'll be told when to take distributions. That's called required minimum distributions. You'll be told how much tax to pay on them. You don't know what it's going to be because you don't know what tax rates are going to be in 3, 5, 7 years when you hit requirement. You're going to be told what to do. And then you're going to be told by an advisor how much you have to allocate in there. And you're going to pay that guy a fee to do that. So if you don't manage it and you don't take control of it, somebody else is going to manage it for you. And you're going to be managed by that money that you've created.
Dude, so that's what I wanted. Like, such a powerful concept. So 41 trillion, half of the world's wealth is held in retirement accounts, not savings accounts, retirement accounts in the United States, right? Half of the world's wealth. That's insane, by the way. The average is, last time I looked, is like 119 or 120, 123,000 on average per account. Most Americans don't feel that, though. Most Americans are like, I've got 10 grand in my 401k. I've got 20 grand in my 401k. I've got whatever. So it's like 85+% have sub $50,000.
Right. So,
but here's the damn thing. I wish folks realized if you have a damn dollar in those accounts and those accounts are allocated to certain allocations,
yep.
you get access to what's called shareholder meetings.
Yes.
You get to go vote. Yep. Your apathy, you're paying somebody to give you advice and be benevolent on your behalf, but they don't. Do you know how many financial advisors and all these guys, especially out of the big name blocks, go to any of these meetings? They don't. Your apathy, like that, and it sucks because the American public apathy and it's ignorance, but it's not a negative connotation. It's just you don't know what you don't know until you know it, right?
Right. That's exactly right.
It literally is the reason for the plight that most people find themselves in, because if we took all of it combined, right, all those $50,000 or less accounts combined, IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 457s, pension vesting, and et cetera, right? And you went and you actually showed up to your shareholder or your stock owner distribution meetings and cast your vote, because it actually does matter in those circles,
right?
Those people of that 41 trillion represent 38 trillion of it. More than 1/3 of the entire world's wealth is held by people with voting power who don't even bother to vote. So here we are. You say politics don't matter. People get up in arms and like, oh, Biden, oh, Trump, oh, this, oh, that, freaking Gouda cheese, whatever. But they can't show up and vote for their own outcome, their own well-being. Well, that's one thing I've always asked, Mike, and I'd love your perspective on this before we close out. Why the fuck would anyone else care about your outcome if you don't even care about your outcome?
True. 100% true. Hey, it's 100% true. Like that's the revolution to start if you want to start a revolution, right? We're not going to start revolutions with guns and bullets and all that stuff here. Mm-hmm. But you want to start a revolution, let's get people to act, right? Like when I say politics doesn't matter, it shouldn't matter for like us, spending time talking about it because we can't control it. They don't know us. We should spend time trying to get people in office that's actually going to give a shit about the future of America, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
right? Yeah.
Hey, there's one thing that is catching my thing about the $41 trillion. Do you know when 401ks were created?
Wasn't like the 60s or the 70s?
Well,
yeah.
7. We're talking 50 years, right? It's not even 50 years old yet. And so we got 41 trillion, and I know some of that 41 trillion is old pension money, right? It's old pension money. But the majority of the wealth in the world has gone into these vehicles in the last 50 years, right? That's crazy to think, right? In COVID in 2020, most people don't know this, but in 2020, when we printed all this money, 25% of the money that has ever been created in the United States was created in 2020. 25%, a quarter of every dollar ever created in the United States was created that year, right? The amount of wealth that's out there that we can influence, right? That we can help people with. This is why there should never be competition, right? We shouldn't talk bad about each other. It's because the amount of wealth that's out there, we should high five a guy who's giving help. Like, right? There's some companies I would never use, right? I would never use them like for a client. But I will tell people, if you got it, congratulations, because you're better than what the alternative is.
Yeah.
The alternative is doing nothing. And so even if you got something I would never use, it's better, right? I mean, I applaud the life insurance only guy who's able to, keep people's money protected in a B-rated company. As long as that B-rated company doesn't go out, it's better than nothing, right? And I'm happy about that. I would never talk bad about somebody because they use something I would never use. I always tell people, this is great. And maybe I can help you improve it. Maybe I can't, but at least you're doing something better than what you did before. So, I mean, this is we could have this conversation and go around in circles about this $41 trillion. And I want to do that probably offline about how we can influence people and create that.
Dude, we might have to do a follow-up podcast episode here in a couple months.
I would love it. And just, I would love to educate people, right? Carson and Mike do webinars on how you actually vote your 401k shares, right? This is how you do it, right? And just educate people like you have the control to control what's going on in these corporations, right? If you don't like what's going on, vote, because if you're in American Funds, Growth Fund of America, right, which is in a lot of 401ks around the country, you own about 70, 80, 90 companies within that fund. You have a voting right within that, right? Don't give up that voting right, right? I love that. I love that revolution piece that I'm calling it a revolution. You're probably not calling it that, but,
I haven't called it rev, but I might steal that from you, because at the end of the day, what it is it's the extinction of apathy.
Right.
The American financial plight is by and large based on ignorance and apathy.
Right.
And that sucks. It sucks. Yes. And it's not a negative connotation. It's just reality.
Right. Most definitely. I
don't know, man. Before we close out, Mike, it's Thursday. You've got some dirty deeds to do tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. Otherwise, you're going to have to take pictures of candles. Or I guess if you do them, you got to take pictures of candles.
I don't post candles.
What pictures get posted if you don't? What is it, a McDonald's Diet Coke? What the fuck are you posting if you don't?
A mason jar with some iced tea in it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, there has to be a dichotomy here.
You could just post a picture of a desert.
Welcome to where I live. Nah, what do you want to close us out with? You tell me, two words, 20 words, 10,000 words. I don't give a shit. How do you want to end your podcast? Because this is yours.
Thank you. I mean, this has been great. I mean, a couple hours. I don't know what we'll end up with total minutes, right? In this, maybe it's 7 minutes total, which would be great. But, just thank you. I mean, you're giving people a voice. There's so many podcasts out there, right? And you're giving people a voice, and your following's going to watch this. I hope they learn something. I hope they get something out of it. But anybody can reach out to me at any time. If you heard something and you like, man, I want to hear something else from him, reach out, man. You could find me. I mean, that's what's great about the old World Wide Web. You could find me. Just Google Ideas by Mike and you're going to find me, right? It's not that hard. But, people want to reach out. Great. If not, man, great success. I just wish you great success on this, right? This breaks the monotony of what we do in our business every day for you. This breaks the monotony where you get to use your mind in a different way. It's only going to make you more successful on the projects that you're doing, the things you're prioritizing. So, and thanks for doing this. I look forward to seeing where we, if we do this again down the road, if we end up in Scottsdale together or Las Vegas or wherever. I can't wait to be at the same bar and actually know each other. That's going to be great.
Dude, let's find a friggin' butthole bar in Vegas where we can get a 5-star Michelin salad.
I love it.
We'll find some time to hang out, but seriously, I appreciate you. I came into this podcast, Mike, I'm not going to lie. I already told you this. I was like, who the fuck is this dude?
Everybody says.
Not that I know everybody. I don't know most people because I'm pretty antisocial. But, man, I'm so damn glad that your team hit Chuck up and that Chuck pushed so damn hard to get you on here because, shit, dude, I think you've changed my world today in just a couple hours. I can't thank you enough, man.
I love it. And if nothing else, man, it's been good hanging out together.
Yeah, absolutely. And likewise. I'll let you go, dude. Let's close this thing out. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for tuning into the A2C podcast today. I appreciate you joining me on this unfiltered journey into the minds of remarkable people. I hope you enjoyed the candid conversations, the authenticity, and the insights shared. Remember, this is an ad-free podcast, so your support in sharing this with others, well, it means the world to me. If you want to stay connected with me and the podcast and be the first to know about our upcoming guests and episodes, follow me, the podcast, whatever, on social media, A2C Podcast on Facebook, and we'll get our Instagram and everything else set up. At cporter389 is my own personal stuff on all platforms. Your feedback, your ideas, they're invaluable to me. Drop me a message, drop the podcast a message, share your thoughts, let me know who you'd like to hear from next. Together, we're on this mission to explore all the facts of success and life, but be candid as hell about it. So I appreciate you. Come find me, come follow me, and let's do some awesome things together. Appreciate y'all.